one of the things that we do with compatibility, it's not really so much used traditionally in India, but it's really widely used in the West, is synastry. And synastry is when we put one horoscope on top of another horoscope. And we see where the planets in one chart fall in the other person's chart, and what planets, let's see how I say this, how the planets in one person's chart aspect the planets in another person's chart. And then what planets are conjunct from this person's chart to the person's planets in the other chart. So basically we lay the charts on top of each other and see what kind of things connect and stuff. And you can get a lot of important information about people that way. You won't really so much see true compatibility in the sense of how are these people going to really flow in life. For that, you really have to look at the Hindu method of compatibility, you know, the kutas and the doshas that I have in the relationship compatibility course, the audio course. And one day I'll probably make a video of that, so maybe one day that'll be here too. But synastry, overlap, putting charts on top of each other, can show you a lot of details about that relationship and see what they spend more time doing it with each other, where their energy is focused, what things each person stimulates in each other's chart. Because that's really what's happening. Just like if you have Jupiter transit your 10th house, so you can expect a Jupiterian effect in your 10th house. If you're married to someone whose Jupiter falls in your 10th house, you can expect Jupiter and 10th house things as long as you're married to that person, and so on, okay? So the person you're with is almost like a transit chart on top of your chart, and you can actually read it just like that. Well, what would happen if Venus is transiting my first house? I'm going to feel comforted and romantic. So when a person's Venus falls in your first house, you'll just tend to feel more romantic and comfortable as a person. Okay, and that would be nice, right? Okay. So I personally don't usually look at all those synastry aspects, but what I do look at is Rahu and Ketu. Okay? I do like to look at what Rahu and Ketu are doing, because lots of times they'll just show some really big themes really easily, and it can be important, okay? So the first thing I look at, or one of the things you can look at, and this is less important than the second thing I'm going to look at, but the first thing I look at is what signs and houses Rahu and Ketu fall in the person's horoscope. Okay? That lets us see what areas Rahu and Ketu are going to directly influence in their lives. And Rahu and Ketu have a big influence always because they're the planets that are making us evolve. So, what areas is the person we're with going to make us evolve towards? Well, the areas where their Rahu and Ketu falls in our chart. Okay? So if a person says, how is this relationship going to change me and test me, and what new things is it going to teach me, and what old things is it going to help me get rid of? Well, see where Rahu and Ketu are falling in their chart, and you'll have your answer. Okay? Now, the thing that's more important than where Rahu and Ketu fall in another person's chart, maybe not more important, it's not the right thing to say, but more interesting, is the planets that conjunct Rahu or Ketu, which is the second thing I'm going to talk about in another video. Okay, but to start with, we want to look at what house and sign it falls in. Let's say we have a Cancer ascendant, and one person falls in, their partners, Rahu falls in their 4th, and Ketu falls in their 10th. Well, Rahu falls in Libra and Ketu falls in Aries. Well, that means as long as they're with that person, they're going to learn Libra more. They're going to learn and develop Libra more, which means they're going to learn and develop more how to trade and share, buy and sell, get better at business, learn more the value of something. They'll learn that more through their association and being with that person. They're going to learn Libra. And while learning Libra, they're going to let go of Aries. They're going to let go of their own need for independence, their own need for independent actions. They'll just see that as less of a need. Okay, why is that? Well, their partner has Rahu in Libra and Ketu in Aries, right? And so when we put their partner's Rahu and Ketu there, of course, is going to fall in Libra and Aries. And as we see our partners work on things, those things become more clear to ourselves, right? So if we see our partner, you just have to learn how to be better at business, it starts us thinking about how can I be better at business? It just sort of naturally makes us a bit better at that thing too, right? Okay, it's just that simple. If we see in our partner that they really need to just let go of their Aries nature of being independent in actions, we also start seeing, geez, I could use a little of that myself too. And we start gravitating that way a little bit. Okay? So, we're always going to develop the sign that Rahu's in and let go of the sign that Ketu's in. Because the nature and transit of Rahu is to create and give and make bigger. And the nature of Ketu in transit is to let go and complete. So, when you've got your partner's Rahu in a certain sign, that's the sign you're developing and, doing more with. And the sign where Ketu is in is when you're resolving and letting go and completing. Okay? Then, after looking at the sign, which isn't the most important thing, the more important thing is the house cusp, the bhava cusp in that sign. So there's a good chance the fourth bhava cusp is going to be in Libra, because it's a Cancer. Could have the third bhava cusp in here, could even have the fifth bhava cusp, it all depends. But whatever bhava cusps fall there are going to be bhava cusps that the person's going to work on. Okay? And develop. And somehow that person's going to help them grow in that direction. So if Rahu was conjunct the fourth bhava cusp, I'll put a Roman number 4 here, then while you're with that person, you're going to develop fourth house things. And you might find that person makes you stay home at more. Because of them, they don't make you, but because of them, you stay home more, you get more domestic, you work on your feelings more, maybe you get a motorcycle and you guys start cruising around on motorcycles, who knows? There's going to be some fourth house thing going on. If Rahu's conjunct the eighth cusp, for as another example, then a person's going to be more focused on developing their resources with their partner, becoming more emotionally secure, recognizing the importance of emotional bonding, and letting go of material things and their need to save money and to develop their finances. And they'll just kind of go more towards that eighth house direction. So just like we had the results of Rahu conjunct the bhava cusp that I gave you all and what those meanings are, well, when you have a person whose Rahu falls in a certain sign and conjunct certain bhava cusp in your chart, it's the very same thing happening. You're going to get and develop that house in accordance with Rahu just as if you had it in your chart. But you're only going to develop to a minor level. You're always going to be developing your own Rahu the most, of course. But you're also going to get some of that Rahu there. And I always find it interesting to look at just where Rahu falls in your chart, where your partner's Rahu falls in your chart. Whatever house it falls in, somehow that house gets emphasized in your relationship with that person. Somehow it does. If it's third house, then mutual interest, hobbies, traveling can be huge. Okay? Remember my first girlfriend's Rahu fell in my third house cusp. As a result, I was traveling all the time as a result of that person. Okay? If Rahu falls in the fifth house, well, children will become important somehow, be the emphasis on children in that relationship. But whatever house that Rahu falls on will be important. If it's the second house, it'll teach the need for friendship and the value of friendship, perhaps, second house thing, or wealth or money. But I find oftentimes in relationships, friendship somehow becomes important when Rahu falls in that second house. The desire to take care of each other materially in a way where you're happy to help someone without any need of retribution. Because second house is family, people we take care of because they're our family. Seventh house is partners, where it's a equal trade, it's a deal. Okay, but family's not that way. Family will give to more than we will a partner. If a business partner always gets the long end of the stick, eventually we're going to break that partnership. Whereas we regularly give more to our family than they're able to give back if we're in that position, or we might be the ones getting more regularly, but still they don't access and get rid of us. They can't. You can't really get rid of your family. You can say I'm never talking to them again, but they're still your family until you die or they die. Whereas a business partner or a marriage partner, you can get rid of them. You know, you can say, I'm divorced, we're no longer married. Or, I'm selling my business to another person, we're no longer in business together. So that's the difference between partnerships and family. Family is eternal until death. Businessships and partnerships are lasting only as long as you have an agreement to be in business or partnership. So, if Rahu's fallen in the 7th house, you can bet that person's going to teach you a lot about relationships while you're with that person. So whatever house Rahu's conjuncting, whatever cusp it conjuncts, you're going to focus on more. If it's its 11th house, it'll be dealing with groups and peers. If it's the 10th house, it could be getting focused with your work and making it something of yourself. If it's the 9th house, it can be spirituality and religion and philosophy and pilgrimages. 6th house can be focusing on health. 12th house can be, oh, let's go take more and more vacations and spend lots of money. Or go meditate a lot, whatever. But always opposite that house is Ketu. So Ketu is always going to show where we're going to spend less time as a result of that person. Okay? I mean, over time, we'll focus less time as a result of that person than we did before. Okay? For instance, say we had a person's Ketu, and this can be an interesting, Ketu in the 9th, Rahu in the 3rd. So they're going to spend less time in their philosophical life as a result of that person in their life, and more time in their analytical life, perhaps. 3rd house. Okay? So you have to have well-rounded bhava meanings to see the possibilities of how Rahu and Ketu can show you what you're going to be doing more as a result of that person, and what you'll be doing less as a result of that person. Okay? And that will, that Rahu will always show an area that you work on while you're with that person, or somehow becomes important, and Ketu an area that's less important. Real simple concept, but well worth looking into. Because Rahu and Ketu, relationships are just such an evolutionary thing in general. Where are we going to evolve? Well, this person in respect to 9th and 3rd house axis, letting go of 9th house ideas and evolving towards more 3rd house ideas. Okay? So, pretty easy concept, easy to do once you know the meanings of bhava cusps, which you should know after taking the Judging Bhavas course. And also just from reading the results of Rahu and the Rashis and Rahu and the Bhavas that I have given to you earlier in this Rahu and Ketu course. Okay, so in the next video we're going to talk about conjunctions to Rahu and Ketu. And that's really surprising actually. It's not going to be what you expect. Okay, and that's why I find that so interesting.